Robschild. Nothing I say is investment advice. Welcome to the show where we view financial markets through crystal ball gazing. JP Morgan once said millionaires don't need astrologers, but billionaires do, and so we begin. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. As I mentioned at the beginning of the week, Tuesday CPI, Thursday PPI, initial jobless claims. So today is Tuesday and the CPI came out. So let's take a look at it. Overall, when you take a look at the previous numbers, compare them to the forecast, and compare those to the actual, really, there's nothing to see here. Everything is as flat as can be. It's almost a little ominous. When I look into my crystal ball, things are looking a little too calm. Let's dive a little bit further. On first glance of the S&P 500, it looks very healthy, very comfortably bullish. But is it? Well, yes, it is. It is. On the day, it is. However, as you can see, if you look at the top of this little candle from Friday, we did not break above that. And so knowing that it's sort of a topping tail pattern, this is actually the first little indication that may suggest that we are at a top in markets. Now, what about smart risky money? What are they doing? The high yield corporate. Well, if you look at this chart here, we see a very, very tiny green candle. You can barely see it. Basically, it means that there was no argument as to the value of risky smart money, high yield corporate bonds. It's almost like the markets are sort of waiting to see how retail investors are going to react to all of this before they make their real moves. And I think the real moves are going to be quite bearish actually coming up, as you can see from the title of this video. In the VIX, this is sort of a fear gauge. When it goes up, it means people are more fearful. When it goes down, people are less fearful. And so we had it drop today from a little bit of a jump yesterday. It's normal to see a little bit of a jump in the VIX right before a CPI or a PPI. Any major news that's going to be coming out, it's normal to see a little bit of a pop in the VIX. And so this isn't really much to see here. But it's showing a little bit of support to the equities markets. The next chart I want to share with you is the TYX, the Treasury 30 yield. And I just noticed today a very, very clear trend line developing. And I noticed that we hit it and bounced right off of it March 7th, and now we've hit it 3 times, and you can see this little pattern developing here. This is a potential head and shoulders right here, obviously, being a shoulder ahead. Do we see another shoulder and break below and then go down about the same distance as this, basically, around 3.9, just under maybe 3.9 area? I don't know. That might be what plays out. I can easily see this playing out exactly that way. And I'm going to be giving a little bit more evidence to that idea. Before we get there, there's a few more charts I want to actually go over. But before we get to those 2 charts, I just want to do one more little talk on the 30-year Treasury bond. I think that this chart, specifically the 30-year Treasury yield, is the most important chart to be paying attention to. It's the most important market in the world. Why? It's the smartest, biggest, most powerful money that exists, if you think about it. Number one, the US dollar is the world reserve currency, and so the cost of borrowing is largely dependent on the Treasury yield, because the Treasury yield is the guaranteed rate of return that you can get on US dollars. And so it's immensely important, the yields on treasuries as a whole. And I think that the 30-year bond yield is the most important because it has the longest duration, because it has the longest implications of where things can head. And when yields are going up, it kind of suggests that we may be seeing inflation, hotter economy coming ahead, and when it goes down, the opposite. Less inflation, maybe disinflation, maybe deflation, and it shows a slowing of the economy happening. So, bigger point here is if I see this head and shoulders play out to the downside, that combined with a few other data points, I think help indicate that we really might be crystal ball wise at a top in the stock market. But before we get there, two more charts real quick. I've been talking about in previous shows KWEB. This is an ETF that basically represents the Chinese Amazon and other internet companies. And at these bottoms here, these stocks have already been dirt cheap, and they've been getting crazily cheap, and then the Chinese government comes out and says, hey, we're going to start buying stocks in order to support the markets and make things stimulate the market. They're trying to get inflation. And I had mentioned yesterday, I had seen people complaining like, oh no, if they get inflation, then we're going to get inflation. It's not like that. I don't think it's like that at all. They've been experiencing deflation, and so inflation in China is a good thing for China and Chinese equities, and it's proving to be true I'm not the only one seeing this and believing this. The Chinese equity market is spiking up. We're just absolutely making ginormous moves, and an ETF, 4.3% is a very large move up, and so I see this as very bullish. Last chart before I get into my top of the market theory is silver miners, junior silver miners. This market, I just wanted to point out, we've had this run here, which is bullish. This today has an inside candle, which means that I definitely see stronger moves going up higher from here. Finally, onto the good part of this video. It's like the universe doesn't want me to do this. This is the third time I've recorded this video, and it keeps messing up. It's deleting it automatically. But anyway, I'm finally here. I decided I am going to do it and put it out. So this is NVIDIA. Point being, we had a pretty big green candle here after a number of days of sideways chop. Being a mega cap, being a company that is worth $2.3 trillion, this is what mania looks like to me. This company has an immense amount of speculative value in it. It has not proven that it can make enough money to support it being a $2.3 trillion company. Now, just a few other numbers that I want to go over just with this company real quick. The price went up by 7.16%. Well, who cares? It's just a stock, right? If we do a little bit of math, I pull out my calculator, 7.16% of 2.3 trillion is about $165 billion. This company changed in value today. It went up by $165 billion in one day. That is a big deal. A market cap of $2.3 trillion is also a big deal. Just for reference, only $3 trillion in the whole world exist. Now, just to clarify market cap, the meaning, if every person that has NVIDIA stock sells all of their stock today and got the price that it was being sold for today, the whole company would sell for that number, $2.3 trillion, while only $3 trillion in the world actually even exist at all. I mean, this is insanity. This is mania. This is not a healthy bull market. There's nothing healthy about this. This is complete insanity, and that is a big part of why I think that we are very likely at a top in markets. Combine this with what is going on in triple Qs, the NASDAQ. We've had an enormous run going upwards, and according to Gareth Soloway, who has 25 years of trading experience, his trend lines will always be infinitely more insightful and better than mine. He sees this as pretty much it in this market. Now, don't quote me on this, but I believe I have his trend line here. He did on today's Trading the Close show mention this trend line and how we just basically touched it today, and how yesterday we confirmed below it for the first time in a long time. This trend line goes all the way back to October of 2023. And so as far as powerful trend lines go and powerful indicators, when I look into my crystal ball, this is it. I think this is it. I think this is where markets say we've had enough. It's time to have things make a little bit more sense moving forward. Again, nothing I say is any kind of investment advice. You're responsible for your own decisions. But I hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you very much for watching. Robschild.